If everyone can go on mute, and please put your name in the chat and your agency and your role. If you're a parent, staff, board member, stakeholder, we want to know who you are. All right. Dr. Richardson, if you're on, if you can unmute. Epi, I see that you're on. If you can unmute.
Good morning, B.
Good morning, Epi. Will Dr.
Good to be on top of things, yeah.
Will Dr. Richardson be joining us?
Yes, Dr. Richardson will be
Hey,
joining. Later will be
Yeah, you
joining.
sure are, yeah.
All right, can everyone mute, please?
Yes, they will all be joining.
Okay, we'll give Dr. Richardson a few more minutes. All right, Dr. Richardson, I see that you're on. Can you unmute?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, good. Happy Friday to everyone.
Happy
that's
Friday
joining us.
to you.
We made it.
Yes, we did.
Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, and thank you for all of you who joined on time. All right, so welcome to the Culminating Health Services Advisory Committee. We did it. We made it to the end of the year. This is our last meeting for this program year, and then we'll pick up with more work probably beginning in August. And we'll talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing in August, because Dr. Richardson and Dr. Sally and Effie will be helping us with reviewing the wonderful plan that they helped put together for us. So we're going to need our group to reconvene sometime in August. We'll get back with you as to the date so that we can review the plan. All right, I'm B. Nichols. I've just been running my mouth for the past 5 minutes and haven't introduced myself. I'm one of the directors here at DFSS. I'd also like to thank all of our DFSS staff that I see that are joining us today. And then joining me is Dr. Richardson. She's with NovaCare, as well as Effie. And Dr. Sally, unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today, but we have Dr. Richardson. So thank you for joining us. All right, continue to put your name, your agency, and your role, if you're a parent, staff, board member, in the chat. Because what we want to do next is we want to begin this meeting a little differently. We want to be able to get all of you together to talk about a few things. We have a couple of questions that we put together for you that we would like for you to break out, and we're going to do it electronically. We have our communications team that's joining us. I think, who's on with me? Is it Martise or Mara or Berenice?
Both of us.
Okay, wonderful. Good morning, ladies. We want to go ahead and break the groups out. We're just waiting for everyone to join so that we have an equal amount that we can distribute among the breakouts. But going into these breakouts, I don't know, Mara or Berenice, do you want to prep us for the breakouts? So I'll try to give an overview of what we're gonna do, but these ladies are going to actually break us out. We're gonna discuss 2 questions. And those 2 questions are, hold on just a sec. They pull them up. We're going to give you these 2 questions to answer for us in your chats. First question. I'm going through to find them, so just give me a minute. Dr. Richardson, can you look through your emails, because I know I sent the 2 questions, or of the other-
Shelby, I do have them, if that's okay, if you'd like me to read them.
Shelby, yes.
Yeah, question number 1 is, from your perspective, looking back over this program year, please tell us about 1 or 2 major accomplishments at your agency. And question number 2 is, in what ways has your agency engaged your local HSAC?
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for putting those up. So this is what we're going to be discussing. And you know, when we break out into these groups, when we're physically together, we do it a certain way. But doing it electronically, I'm going to ask that any of you can be facilitators for your session, or we have DFSS staff and the leads that are going to be in some of your groups. If you all wouldn't mind, if you could just keep the conversation going, make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to share, and make sure, most of all, that this is all timed electronically. So it'll give you a countdown of how much time we have left. Just make sure that you're wrapping up those 2 questions by the time the group breaks, okay? So Mara or Berenice, if you could just break us out. Everyone has the questions in the chat, and feel free to engage with one another, and then we'll be back. See you in a little bit.
Miss Ortega and Miss Atwater, are you able to join any of the groups? Can you hear me? Teresa, can you hear us?
All right, people are coming back. Dr. Richardson, that was fun. You're muted.
That was a lot of fun, and it's very enlightening and also very encouraging to see what each agency is doing and how hard they're working and the successes so far. So I am very encouraged, and I'm happy that we're sharing in a safe environment where people could learn from each other passively and actively.
Yes, and I don't know if any of the facilitators want to share anything from your groups. But we had some really, really good information that was shared. People are educating parents. Sunrisa shared that they've actually doubled up on workshops, the number of workshops, and that's very enlightening because it's difficult to often get our parents involved, but that level, wherever they want us to reach them, that's where we are. So, and I hope that we have parents that are also joining us today. All right, if we can put the agenda up.
In 1 second.
Okay.
Morning.
All right. So we have our agenda, and what we're going to do next, Dr. Richardson, is you're going to lead us with the subcommittee goals that we've achieved, and/or if there's been any goals or any particular things that have come up that maybe we need to carry over. So this is all about the individual health subcommittee groups. So we'll hear from Dr. Richardson and/or Effie. We'll also hear from Sunrisa, SGA. If Linda is on with us as well, she can give a brief update. And then we'll move to Shelby and then Sarah for family and community engagement. And Madeline, of course, you can also provide any commentary that you would like during the health subcommittee. So back to you, Dr. Richardson.
Hello, everyone. I'm here and I'm happy to be representing NovaCare. And we have successfully been able to complete the committee assignment for unmasking of 2 years and under. And we are working closely with the community to make sure that children that need to have their lead testing, blood tests done, we have always offered to jump in and help with those kinds of programs. But before all this, I just want to remind everybody that the children and their families need to be proactive in keeping their Medicaid and their CHIP. We have a flyer that I'm sure we're going to share with all the committees that are here today. And it is a proactive process because when these services discontinue, you do not get a notification. When a family's Medicaid or CHIP program is discontinued, you don't get anything in the mail to warn you that it's going to be discontinued. So please make sure that you engage your families and the community to know that they have to proactively make sure that they maintain their Medicaid and CHIP, because all these other medical services that we offer will be ineffective if they don't have those status updated. The agencies that are involved in keeping them up to date need to be reimbursed, and their reimbursement comes either through Medicaid or CHIP. So that's really very important to get our families engaged in that. So I'm going to have Ify chip in if she has any other areas of engagement that she wants to discuss.
Dr. Richardson, I think too, that you can talk a little bit about the work that was involved when you worked on putting our COVID-19 plan together. That was an awesome task.
Yes, I want to commend everybody who contributed, because we first of all started by sending out requests for input, what questions people may have, and we concise those questions to important bullet points as to what would be maybe setbacks in implementing that. And we went ahead and we made sure that we have evidence-based approach to how the mitigation needed to work. But in the end, we found out that people are doing the basic things that are needed, like making sure that when people are sick, they're not at work, making sure that people get tested, making sure that we have enough ventilation and spacing for the children, making sure that everywhere where you have a Head Start program, transportation, that the same standards are met. So I want to thank everybody, because we had a mandate on a very short period of time. And the policy is very detailed. And the reason why it was written in that form is that any agency that is having a problem with any particular aspect of it will have answers. And we have had agencies that reached out to us for details on certain aspects of it, and we have been able to give feedback to them. So we still encourage agencies to please make sure that if there's anything written in that policy that they are not too sure on how to implement in their specific circumstances, remember, it is evidence-based based on your own circumstances. If you're having any problem with any of that, we are still available to be able to provide you with help or simplify it for you enough that you can understand exactly how best to implement that. And certainly 6 months from implementation, we're going to get back and see what struggles people are having, what successes that people have had. So just bear that in mind, that that is coming down the line. And I want to thank B for being at the steering of that program, and for everybody that showed up, because we had so many meetings and we had so many issues to bring up and for us to tackle. But thankfully, everybody worked hard enough to make that happen. So I am here thanking and thumbs up for all the participation. It was a huge task, but we are happy to have been able to have it done on time. So thank you to everybody.
And thank you for your guidance and leadership, Dr. Richardson.
Thank you.
So Happy, we're still waiting if you have anything you'd like to add. And Mahra has put in the chat what Dr. Richardson referred to, the Medicaid and CHIP eligibility. Everybody needs to read that and inform your parents.
Yeah. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
I'm so happy that it's coming to an end, at least for now. My kudos to B and Dr. Richardson for all they did, and Dr. Sally. Yes, NovaCare Services was able to work with, the other agencies in providing education and empowering parents on how to handle the little ones, empowering parents on how the importance of breast milk, empowering parents on how importance of vaccinating their kids, empowering parents on when to go for their appointments if they are pregnant. We have nurses that were able to work with the agencies to provide such, information to the families. Novacare was able to educate the agencies as well as the parents about importance of COVID preventions. They taught them about infections control, and they were able to work with it. And luckily, we did not hear any problem concerning one of our, our clients or agencies, that we lost through the COVID. So it was a big plus for us, to be able to provide such information to the parents. We're able to work with other agencies concerning the vision hearing and the screening for their visions, and it helps them a lot. And we're able to partner with this CFS, to be able to identify some problems in the healthcare system, and also to minimize the sizes that we are, because of our community was so large that some of them were not met. But we were able to reach out to those agencies, and we worked well with them. On the other hand, we were able to get the nutritionists that started an amazing job in educating the agencies and the parents on nutrition, how to keep fit, how to eat well, and then, and how to prevent infections at the same time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Effie. And you talked about nutrition. I'm wondering if Linda wants to add anything to that. I appreciate that Linda was at her last executive director program director meeting. She set up a little kiosk of resources, and directors could walk away with a little bag. It was very nice. Linda, did you want to say a few things?
Thank you, B. I appreciate you, B. I appreciate Novacare adding me to their team. And I am out there, I am available. I've been working with some of the dietitians at some of the sites. Feel free to contact me, your dietitians to contact me. I've been updating the nutrition standards, the performance standards. And so if you would like to be a part of that, if your dietitian would like to be a part of that, feel free to contact me. I'm available to do your nutrition review. And so I'm getting the last little bit of updates from those nutritionists that are out there. And then as I contact you, I will send you the updates. And then I'll be coming out to visit to do the nutrition review. If you have any questions, any concerns that you would like help with for nutrition, please feel free to contact me. I put my name out there. I can also put my email in the chat. If you have some upcoming events that you would like me to be a part of, I certainly will check to see if I can do that. Any questions that you have, I'm putting that out now. Anything that you need me to do, please just give me a call or email me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda. And Linda also has assisted several of her, I believe, Spanish-speaking programs with identifying a registered dietitian. So give her your questions. All right, I'm looking at Madeline Shea. I know Ellie is on as well as Melissa with SGA. And just want to know if you all had anything that you wanted to share since this is our end of the year meeting.
Yeah, you know what? This is Madeline from CDPH. I think, and hopefully this is the right time and place for this, what I'd like to do is, over the summer, really kind of think through the programs that we provide that I think could be really better connected. In particular, we have an oral health promotion program that's funded by IDPH, and it's really meant to promote oral health among pregnant persons and young families with children under the age of 6. So we do a lot of education and handing out of dental supplies and kits. So there's that. I would love to connect programs with our oral health promotion program. We operate 14 WIC clinics throughout the city. And I just want to make sure that there's a really strong connection and all the eligible parents in your programs know about this resource, have access to it, because it's a really critical program for many people. So I guess all that to say, and then of course we have a childhood lead poisoning prevention program, which I think many of you are aware of. I would like to make some kind of more articulated specific goals with some action items that I can continue to track and follow up on to make sure that there's a really strong connection between our agency and yours, and these connections are actually happening. I often have the experience of sharing resources and then not knowing exactly how successful just a presentation on programs is. So really kind of making sure that there are strong connections and everybody knows how to find these things and knows who to call, and we're doing outreach in your agencies and your areas. So I guess that's sort of what I'd like to add, and I'm hoping that perhaps in the new year these can be more concrete action items.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Madeline. I think what we need to do is work on a linkage agreement between our agencies.
Yeah.
That could really help. Thank you.
Great.
Ellie and/or Melissa, if you have anything to share, I know you'll be doing something for us, Melissa, a little later coming up that I'm excited about. But if there's anything that either one of you would like to share.
Yeah, definitely. As mentioned before, Dr. Cortez wasn't able to make it today, but I am here. First of all, I would like to thank all the agencies who had us over for workshops throughout the year, any parent meetings. We are glad to say we definitely doubled our workshop amount of visits that we see. So that's been great. And then for the upcoming year, we just want to make sure we're still hitting that workshop number and making sure we're still educating the parents and targeting that number of treatment needed. That's definitely still our goal, to lower that percentage. And I'm just looking forward to see what the sites have for us, how we can work together to lower that number. But definitely thank you to every single site. And yeah, Sonrisa is still here for any topics, any workshops, any dental services. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Ellie. Melissa, did you have anything?
Yeah, thank you. As Bea mentioned, I'm a little bit later in the agenda, so I won't take up too much airtime right now. Just wanted to, just from my perspective, I feel like mental health has really been a topic that has been really present in a lot of our meetings and has been on, I think, every conversation and agenda that I've seen. So I really think that that is really amazing that we as a system and as a department and across the programs and agencies are really thinking about mental health and supporting that promotion and awareness. And I know a lot of you have mental health consultants that you're working with or have contracted with. But certainly if there's a layer of support or a point of need that it can help with consultation around, also available. And please feel free to reach out to me in that capacity as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Melissa. I think we have heard from all of our health providers. So, health, that particular subcommittee is large. So it involves not only health, but nutrition, dental, mental health are all together in that particular subcommittee. And they have been doing some outstanding work. I want to thank each and every one of my providers. I know I bug them sometimes and call them at the last minute, but they always rise to the occasion. Thank you. All right, next up on our agenda, I believe, is Shelby with disabilities and education. I know Deb is out for education from teaching strategies, but Shelby, if you can go ahead and talk about the wonderful things that have been going on in disabilities. And I also believe we have our CPS folks on. That would be Nancy and or Andrea.
Awesome. Thank you, B. So I also wanted to say thank you to all of our sites. I know that hand tracking data can be really tough and really daunting, but I appreciate all of the time and all the extra effort that you all are spending doing this, and then sending it to me, your SME, and your SSC. I know it's tough, but it is so appreciated, just so that way we can kind of keep a handle on the hard work that you all are doing. I did want to share that across all Early Head Start programs, that's at Early Head Start expansion and CCP, we have a cumulative disability percentage of 8.61%. It's not a perfect number. There's obviously still some room for error whenever I'm doing math, especially, but I know it is hard at times to keep track of kids kind of coming in and out and as they're registering or as they're dropping off. But if you have any questions or concerns about any of your data, or if you're like me and just need someone else to look over the math with you, please feel free to reach out to your SME. That is what we're here for. I would also like to share that we do have 121 pending early intervention referrals, which is quite a bit. And I know that just like a lot of your sites, Early intervention is short-staffed. You might be having a hard time getting a hold of anyone at your CFCs to kind of check up on where kids are at in their referral process, or just make sure that kiddos haven't gotten lost, that they're still moving. So if you need any help, if you're getting to the point where you've had a referral open, you sent it a month or two ago and you've not heard anything, please feel free to either reach out to that CFC, or if you're having a hard time getting a hold of them, call your SME, email your SME. That's what we're here for. And we know how being short-staffed works, but we would hate to have any of our kiddos accidentally fall through the cracks. So we want to make sure that we're staying on the CFCs and on our kids. Ultimately, that's one of the things that we're here for, right? Is just to make sure that our kids are getting what they need. So I'll get off my soapbox, I apologize, but please feel free to reach out to your SME for any and all of those needs. That's what we're here for. My team will also be working through the summer. So if any of your training needs that you would like your agencies to get caught up on or get ahead of now, we are here for you throughout the summer as you start maybe looking at those ASQs. I don't want to stress anyone out, but as you start looking at those ASQs in July, If you're wanting to get ahead of the game, please feel free to reach out to your SME and we can help you go through those, help you calculate the scores, and just get ahead of some of those early intervention things now as they're coming up over the summer when we maybe have a little bit more free time. I think I have it all from the early Head Start end.
Yeah, I'm very excited, Shelby. I like to round up. So when you say we have 8.6, I'm really thinking 9.
That's the thinking I like. That's the thinking I like.
And that is awesome. With under enrollment and some of the other things that agencies are facing, this is outstanding.
Yeah.
Disability service coordinators, you need to give yourselves a pat on the back, because Shelby, us here at DFSS, we're here to support, but you're doing the work. You're doing the on the ground work. Congratulations.
Yeah, and everyone is working so hard at it that I know sites are having trouble getting teachers for classrooms, maybe have the kids enrolled, but don't have anyone to work with the kids. So you all are really working incredibly hard. And I cannot tell you how much I appreciate working with all of you every day.
And working with you and your Erickson team, Shelby. You all have been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So I'm saying, I'm putting a call out that I would love to get that last 1%. So if we can do what we need to do, agencies, to push those 121 pending referrals through, let's do it. And any support that you need, get a hold of us. We're here to help. All right, so now I'm going to shift a little bit to 3 to 5. And I know Andrea is on with us, and I don't know if Nancy is, but if you'd like to say a few words, Andrea, just go ahead and unmic.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, happy hot Friday. Yeah. I am gonna piggyback off of Shelby, and I'm gonna even be worse. I'm not gonna give you any numbers because off the top of my head, and I'm looking, I don't have them, but I feel as if Nancy and I have processed a gazillion referral packets. So I want to thank all of the DSCs that have really submitted really great packets this year. They get better and better each year, which is wonderful. And so we are in the process of scheduling children for the summer. So I would encourage parents, when they see a strange number, answer it, because it's Marisol calling to schedule the children for the summer. Know that we are aware that there are only 2 sites for summer assessment this year, and they are kind of far out depending on where you live. But I was really pleased. Yesterday I was at an agency and the parent was like, oh, that site is too far to go to for an assessment. I don't know if I can make it. And the agency came up with a bus card for the parent, or an Uber gift card. So really, I was really pleased. I said, great, they're really trying hard to make sure our babies get evaluated. So keep in mind, I know that it's far. And if there is I'm shooting myself in the foot with this one, but if there is a survey for you all to take after the evaluation, express your concerns about the distance. It may not be a problem, but it is, they need to know about it. But I was real pleased that agencies are really thinking about how to get our kids evaluated. So Marisol is calling parents and they are responding. And so this summer, I'm hoping that our babies will be able to get evaluated and we'll be at our 10% and don't have to round up. That's a hope. And I'm not sure if Nancy is on. I think she maybe had a call, but if she is, she get add on.
I am here.
Oh,
you did
okay,
well, Andrea. I just want to tell everybody hello. And thank you again. I'm piggybacking off of Shelby and Andrea for all of your hard work. As far as I'm aware, we're over 10%. So we've met our 10% quota and we're still getting packets in, honestly. And the summer assessment sites are Edgebrook and Hale, and we did send a memo out to all the DSCs this week. So if you're not a DSC, you can make contact with your DSCs to get that information. And so we'd like to thank you. We'll be here all summer and we'll still be processing packets and doing trainings. Thank you, B.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Andrea, and for all of your hard work with those packets. I see them, they walk by my office and I'm like, hi, ladies. I'm almost afraid to speak because they're drowning in packets, but that's a good thing. That's a real good thing. Andrea or Nancy, are Edgebrook and Hale, are they also taking our Spanish-speaking parents and children?
As far as I know, they always have a bilingual team,
Okay,
a part of the summer assessment.
Yeah,
Oh.
each site will have that.
okay, great. Thank you all so much. All right, I believe that we've hit everything under the health umbrella. So now I'm sorry, everything under the disabilities umbrella with the exception of education. Deb Sapalik was going to join us from teaching strategies, but she was unable to. I don't know, I know some of our colleagues are on. If there's anything from education that needs to be shared, feel free to unmute and share. I'm talking to the folks at DFSS. But if not, we will keep rolling along. And I think next up is family and community engagement and our partners at UIC. Sarah, and Sarah has a video. Why don't you go ahead and cue up your video to show us?
Yeah.
I'll cue it up and I will just give a broad summary of the work of us and the conversation from the subcommittee meeting that we had. We had the honor and the pleasure to work with participants in that subcommittee and hear from them. You know, it's twofold, the work when we talk about family and community engagement, right? Capacity and building on both ends for families and those who work with families. From the conversations of the subcommittee, quite a number of areas came to the table, the ones that we know are there, and it was great to kind of build those connections and aha moments with the group to affirm the challenges and opportunities that we know exist, notably, you know, recognizing the role that technology plays as families are coming from, you know, returning to sites in pandemic mode, right? And how sites are adjusting to kind of that hybrid model or in-person model or a remote model and some of the technology needs there. And recognizing that those types of transitions take time, right? And then we also talked about recruitment, just acknowledging, you know, the kind of capacity challenges and needs there at that level in terms of you're working with systems such as CST cares, and then also working with families at the same time and the technology needs on that end as well. All in all, when we think about capacity building, some areas to focus for the subcommittee really kind of fall into a bucket in terms of really being able to ensure that we are having our ears to the pulse of families and supporting families who do not live in our communities, and being able to kind of have focused conversations to address those barriers as relates to recruitment and the why, you know, coming back to the why and the heart of Head Start, getting families excited about, you know, that this is recognizing that they are their child's first teacher, and what that means, you know, and helping them to build their confidence capacity in those roles, you know, being not in touch, not face to face, I think really has, you know, impacted that relationship. And so, you know, coming back into that space and really helping folks to lean in and how we build our capacities, families, those who work with families to do that, and strengthening the phenomenal work that's happening. So we know our plates and our hats are so full and there's so much to do there. As we think about time management, as we think about resource management. So we look forward to continuing those conversations with the subcommittee around supporting sites and families directly. Here at UAC Center for Literacy, we do two things, right? And we do that in partnership with families, and we do that in partnership with those who serve families. And so to that end, I will now cue up the video. We had the honor and pleasure with support of DFSS to recognize that families, there is a huge interest in wanting to transition into the field as early learning providers. I don't know how many of us are here today that could raise our hand and say, hey, I was a Head Start, parent. And it's that formidable introduction into early Head Start and Head Start that really starts the journey into the career pathway into early childhood education, which we know is so powerful, especially in having that experience with our early Head Start program. So we kicked off a learning circle for families who expressed interest in wanting to move into that pathway. And the learning circle is really focused around helping families to earn their level 1 gateway credential, and then also helping them to better understand the field, what it is, what it's not, recognizing there's multiple roles, right, in the field, the head of a teacher, the head of a family service worker, the head of a home visitor, et cetera. These learning circles were bilingual, and so we had our culminating event. So it's a 1-minute video. Not only do we support families in terms of moving into that pathway, but then also helping them to build that critical network of support that we know is so important for the field in general, right? Recognizing you're not alone in your struggle, you're not alone in the impacts that you make across the city of Chicago, et cetera. So it's okay if I can share my screen. And I will do that, and I will play the video, and let me know if you can hear it. Thank you for allowing us to share that video. But we know how impactful this work is, and we're excited to do this work in partnership with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I see you have some reactions, some hand claps.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, thanks.
I don't know if there was audio along with that video, but we didn't hear that part. We just saw the beautiful pictures.
Oh, you didn't hear the music. Oh, okay.
We heard the music. We just didn't know if there was something that was being said. But it was,
we're not that. We'll get there. We'll build in a voiceover.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you to Sarah, Donna, and the team at UIC. They joined us. We had a few kinks in the road as vendor and contractor, but they joined us and they jumped right in. And I really appreciate that. It was as if They were with us all along. All right, we have a question. Go ahead, Elaine. Unmute.
I may have missed the beginning of Sarah's presentation. So the pathway to early learning, is that pathway to early learning in the ECE field or pathway to early learning into the program for services to children?
It was very general, right? So it's the ECE field, it's and the recognizing they start with earning their level 1 gateway credential, but that could go, they may have say, well, I'm more interested in becoming a teacher, or I'm more interested in the social service aspect of it, or I want to start my own daycare. And so then they would have to decide where they want to move into that, how they want to move in that direction, and we support them there. But most of them express interest in either wanting to become a teacher assistant in the classroom, or wanting to pursue a career in social services.
And those are these are your GED students who have this pathway.
Most of these were the ESL GED students who are also parents of early Head Start and Head Start children.
And so let me ask you this. I didn't get the fullness of it because I'm multitasking here, but I like that pathway from the GED students into an opportunity to go into ECE, whether it be as a teacher assistant, or in social services, right? And so I know that we have this shortage, right, of teachers in early childhood. Is this something that can be presented to local high schools, right? As they begin to, I don't know how you would do it, but I'm just thinking about that introductory there to juniors and seniors, maybe even freshmen and sophomores, but just some forward thinking on building that pipeline. That's all. I don't know if you have considered that, or UIC has considered that.
Absolutely. I think, this was just we know there's a need, and being able to make that connection, we have to think about, our capacity to scale in that way too. And then also recognizing that there's some sites here that have families who have that same interest. But yeah, that definitely was on our, radar. So we have some very young families, and they were like, when I was in high school, I got my certificate in such and such and so forth. And so that's definitely something we think about for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful ideas. All right, we are going to move into the next part of our agenda, which is Melissa. Melissa, let us know if you're sharing. Are you going to share your screen?
So I do have a PowerPoint, if that's okay, if I can pull it up. Let me just do that really quickly here. Starting from the beginning and not the end. There we go. All right. I'm also going to do just a really quick time check, just to make sure that I am being mindful of how much time we have and get people out on time. So we're right at about 11:15. So are we thinking to wrap? You need there's something after me, right? Just to be mindful of wrapping up with 2 minutes to spare or so.
There's just the closeout. So
Okay.
take as much time as you need.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Well, and I also know that everyone has been on this call for over an hour. And so I certainly appreciate all the information that has been shared and all the networking that has been able to happen in our time together. I am going to start off by having you try to stick with me and engage a little bit more around staff wellness. So I want also thank Bea for having me do this today. I'm from SGA. I'm the behavioral health manager there, and also support the infant and early childhood mental health consultation work. And I think that I'm not going to show this video. If we were in person, I would do it, but I won't do that here. But I think that, you know, recognizing that your well-being is important is something that I think we hear a lot, but I'd like to sit in that with you today and in this time together and really sort of acknowledge that your well-being is really important. And also noticing that adult well-being, as we know, is so strongly linked and tied to child well-being. And so it's not selfish to take care of ourselves. It's really helpful to take care of ourselves so that we can go ahead and take care of those that we're responsible for. Some of the objectives for our time together is really to think quite briefly about wellness, stress, and self-care. We won't do a deep dive into any of those, but just kind of touch on them a little bit. Think about the 8 dimensions of wellness. Introduce a little bit of staff wellness planning, and then making sure that we know how to access some supports. So that's kind of the frame of kind of where we're headed here. And like I promised you a bit ago, I thought we could start with a little bit of an open share. And I know after being online for over an hour, this might be a little bit of a big ask. But I think part of wellness is recognizing our successes. And I'd love to take a moment to have you all showcase what you've done around wellness, some of the activities that you might have engaged in at your program, some initiatives that you might have started around engaging in staff wellness. Part of this is just to showcase what you're doing, but I know for myself, I love to be on meetings and hear what other people are doing and take little grabs and kind of think, oh, I like that idea. Let me see and try that out where I'm at. So I also know this is a bit of a process group. And so if it takes a minute to sort of think about what you want to say, you know, I can be patient and acknowledge that there might be some airtime as you think about what you want to share. But I will then stay a little bit quiet here, and please feel free to jump in and unmute and share with us what wellness activities you've been endeavoring on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janola Washington from the Y. Some of the wellness activities we have included is we have picked up on having health and wellness throughout our association. We get the we have developed a health and wellness department within our agency, as well as all of our meetings start with wellness, mindfulness activities. Some of the other, all of our centers have engaged in working toward developing an area where staff can go to unwind, feel comfortable, or just sit and be alone. So we have identified in each one of our centers a area or a corner that staff can go to do that as well. We have also embedded in our programs different little, how do you say, it's posters or things like that that have wellness and mindfulness activities on them. One of the things that we looked at with as we participated in the trauma-informed care project is taking a look at our staff and putting more training and activities into wellness for them, because again, you can't help kids unless you take care of staff. So we have a grant, UPA's grant, that has given us an opportunity to provide additional mental health services to our staff. We have an EAP within our agency that staff can also go to as well. We also changed our PTO time to include, it used to calculate monthly. Now it calculate weekly, and staff is encouraged to, even though we're short staff and whatever, but we are encouraging staff to use, if they have their PTO time, to use PTO time. So that was some of the big changes that we did here.
I'm speechless because that's, wow. That is a lot. And you touched on so many important pieces. And I think you really sort of recognized that it's really sort of organizational perspective on wellness. And it's not just housed with the individual, but really kind of thinking about that as a whole program. And I noticed B taking notes too. So a lot of really good stuff there. Thank you so much for sharing that. Very intentional work too. I'll just add that. Who else? Anyone else have anything that they're wanting to share around wellness activities at your program or at your site?
I can share something. It's just a small step. We're nowhere near as comprehensive as a Last Young Ladies organization, but we do second step with our scholars right now. And so we looked at how that could benefit the adult staff in our building. And so we purchased a second step for adults. And every week, our social worker, she doesn't go over it with the staff, but she gives the helpful tips for them. And, you know, all of the things that they would, like if they were reading it and they were doing the second step on their own, she would kind of like put that in a helpful email to them for the top of the week to help get them started. We always encourage them also. So that's the first thing that we do. And the second thing is that, like, as we're doing our walkthroughs, if we notice that, you know, teacher's frustrated or whatever, we'll just jump in and be like, hey, why don't you take like 2 minutes, 1 minute, just take a walk or get a breather. So those are top things that we're doing. Hopefully in the future, we'll look to do a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think raising that awareness about recognizing how others are doing, checking in with them, noticing when, you know, when they need a break and offering it. I think all of those things are so important, and they might seem minor, but it's so big. It's such an important piece of the work. I also like what you said earlier about those email check-ins. It's almost like, this is what we talked about, and I'm following up with you. I'm checking in with you. I'm providing that touch points, which I think goes a long way too. So I think those are both really amazing initiatives. So thank you so much for sharing. Does maybe one other person want to go? We can do more, but maybe one more.
While they're thinking about it, Melissa, we do have some comments in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm not seeing comments, so thank you for managing that.
Did you need me to read them?
Could you? Because my my technology isn't allowing me to see the comments.
All right. So Kiara says that they had a massage therapist come to the site, and they also had a virtual sip and paint. I guess they were sipping on juice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then Aguda Salas said that they have mindfulness, wellness meditation sessions, and that's done every Friday. And their mental health coordinator shares a reflective quote at the beginning, I guess, of each session. And they give instructions to begin the meditation. It's very relaxing and useful to improve the mood, the overall mood.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it so far.
Yeah, no, all good stuff. Such good little nuggets that I think we can all sort of take with us and think about. I like the quotes. I like the inspiration. I can't remember exactly what the activity was, but the every Friday activity, that takes a lot of stamina to be able to like maintain that level of commitment. And so kudos to who's doing that. Okay.
The program that said that they have a massage therapist, they just added that they also do smoothies.
Smoothies. Oh, okay. I need to know where they're at because I like a good smoothie.
And we have a couple of more, but I'll let you go ahead. And if you want me to go back to them, I will.
Okay. Yeah, great. I appreciate them coming in. I'm sorry I can't see them. I'm sure I'll be able to see them after.
I'm from Chicago Youth Center. I didn't know if you had more time for me to share.
Oh, yeah. Please do. Please do.
Hello, everyone. Tanya Staggers. I'm Child Care Director, Chicago Youth Center, Sydney Epstein location. And I am presently on our Wellness Committee. And we've been doing quite a bit for our staff as far as engaging them in activities. We started out with a, last year, I believe, with a grand opening of various activities at our center for our staff to participate in with aerobics, yoga, paintings, anything, making with sound therapy. And they would come out to particular sites to engage in maybe a half a day or a day of activities that they chose to participate in. And we've extended these activities throughout another year and we've got a great response. We've had some workshops that centered around wellness, self-care, and seems to be, it got a lot of attention. And that's working for us and able to leadership teams being trained in breathing techniques. And now we're at a point where we're working with our teams, the staff, the teachers, and other appointed staff with breathing techniques to help with relaxation and sound therapy. So this has helped us with our staff and keeping as a part of their self-care and self-wellness. And it seems to work quite well.
That's really great.
Want to share that.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing. I think some of the takeaways from what I grabbed from what you were saying is how much it's meeting kind of what your team is wanting and needing. And so you're asking them, you know, kind of what their needs are and how can we meet them. And instead of deciding what that might be or what that could look like, really finding out from the inside kind of what their needs are and then figuring out what's working and then committing to continuing to do that. So I love all those ideas. It's such good work and I really appreciate you sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I think I will keep moving forward. I think all that information is so rich, though. I really wanted to create some space to hear from you. I think because wellness is not a new concept, everyone has, you know, been talking about it, which is amazing and wonderful. And you're already doing so much of the work. And so I just wanted to create some space to kind of showcase that a little bit. Let's see, my slides are not advancing. Oh, there we go. Okay, so just really quickly, wellness. We've already defined that through the activities that have just been shared, but we know that wellness is complex, it's holistic. We know that it includes a variety of things like environmental, lifestyle, mental, physical, spiritual well-being. The point that I'd like to rest on is that we know that it's an ongoing process. It requires so much awareness and mindfulness, as highlighted by some of the programs that shared the work that they're doing. It's not, you know, something that we can just do and walk away from. It's continuous, it's intentional. And really some of those strategies that we develop and those activities that we engage in really are what help us to cope with our everyday challenges. I think someone already talked about this already too. It's about thinking about organizational wellness. Self-wellness, you know, lands on the individual, but then thinking about what can we do as a foundation, as an organization, and an organization that fosters a culture that supports wellness. And so many of you have already highlighted and how do you do that? Adopting policies that promote and support staff self-care, encouraging professional development, you know, that professional nourishment about growth and learning also feeds into wellness. Creating opportunities for staff to participate in social change and community outreach. What are the things that are important to them? What are the movements and initiatives that they want to get behind and be a part of? Ensuring a safe work environment. That is something that we certainly want for all of our staff. And then someone mentioned EAP earlier too, and making counseling resources and things like EAP accessible to our staff when they need it, and for them to take agency over how they're going to access it and who they're going to access so that the information is available to them. So I think organizational wellness really sort of plays a strong role in supporting our staff wellness. Cultivating wellness comes in 8 dimensions, and there's from the ECLIC website, there's some really nice information about the 8 dimensions of staff well-being. So I encourage you to poke around on that page and kind of learn a little bit more. But I know for myself, sometimes when I think about wellness, I think about 1 or 2, maybe 3 that's on this list. I think about mostly emotional wellness, and I think a lot about physical wellness, but really thinking that wellness is multidimensional, and taking some stock and doing some reflection around all 8 areas: occupational, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, physical, environmental, financial, and social. You know, I can think that, you know, I'm emotionally or physically well, but then if I look at myself socially, financially, whatever the areas might be, spiritually, you know, it might give me some additional areas to think about how I can balance my wellness and how I can nourish myself in wellness activities in those other dimensions. And so I just wanted to share that with you and give you a link here or a resource to make sure that you have an opportunity to think more about those different areas. And then I just like this image because as we think about these different dimensions of wellness, for reflective purposes, I like this image because, you know, we can wonder, is our mind full or are we being mindful? And it just kind of really gives us a nice image to think about that and help us to sort of like clear our minds and really engage in some mindfulness and some reflective experiences as we think about our own well-being. And then I just wanted to touch super briefly on stress. And we know that stress is a physical, mental, or emotional response. It comes from situations that make us feel uncomfortable, and you know, stress oftentimes gets a bad rap, but it can be positive or negative. On the positive side of things, like a little bit of stress may actually help you in some ways to meet a deadline. Oh, I know this is coming, I have to prioritize it, you know, studying for a test, you know, that sort of thing. But it is sort of it's that physical, mental, and emotional response to events that really cause us these stressful experiences. I did want to highlight some unhelpful thinking patterns and coping strategies that sometimes we engage in when we are feeling ourselves in these stressful situations. And again, just a list of things to be aware of, raise some awareness within ourselves if these are the things that we're engaging in. So it's that all or nothing thinking, jumping to conclusions. I won't read the whole list to you because you can see them here posted. I think sometimes, you know, focusing on the negative is a common thing that we sometimes do. And then on the right side, thinking about these unhealthy coping strategies: abuse of substances, withdrawing from friends and family, maybe some binge eating, some procrastinating, etc. So I think these are things just to be aware of and to notice in yourself if these are some of the thinking patterns that you've engaged in or some of the coping strategies that you've developed for yourself, and to notice that and notice those actions so we can do something about that. Someone mentioned earlier some of these relaxation techniques, and I love that so much of what I have here has come up because so many of you have explored these things. For those of you that haven't, stress reduction relaxation techniques can include some breath work. So doing some of that deep controlled breathing. And there's apps and things on the internet that you can find to help prompt you through some of those exercises. Some progressive muscle relaxation. And again, same thing, you can tap into some online resources to really kind of go through that muscle relaxation techniques. And again, you know, some of this might speak to you, others don't. And so find what works for you so that you have these coping strategies in place when you need them. I personally like some visualization and imagery. I like to think about something calming and relaxing, kind of tapping into my senses. What am I feeling and seeing and hearing? And really kind of helps me to get grounded and stay grounded when I need to sort of implement some coping mechanisms. And then someone also mentioned mindfulness earlier. So that's really sort of the action of really being present in the moment, focusing on the task at hand, truly listening rather than waiting to respond, and then observing with an increased awareness. So these are all just, you know, techniques that can help us when we are stressed and looking for some stress reduction activities. And then the other thing that I mentioned that we would talk about is self-care. I think self-care is a word that has been talked about a lot and used a lot. And I know everyone has heard some version of this quote that's on the screen here, but you can't pour from an empty cup. I put it up here, even though I know, you know, everyone's heard it 1,000 times, but I think it's so true. If you really think about that image, and the image that's on the screen is an aerial view looking into a mug that's empty. And so if you think about if you've given everything away and you haven't renourished yourself, you have nothing left to give. And so what we want to make sure that we do for the health of our programs and for promoting wellness is making sure that adult well-being and knowing that adult well-being is linked to child well-being. And that's kind of where we started the conversation. So taking care of yourself is crucial in our work. I think promoting wellness across our programs and across our systems really does have a profound impact on the success of our programs and the health of our working with our children and families. So self-care, taking your scheduled breaks, strengthening your homework boundaries, seeking out other educational professionals or other professionals in your line of work. You know, I think that richness of engaging in colleagues is really powerful in our own wellness, in our own well-being. Again, I won't read the list to you. It's up there. And, you know, the last one is celebrating our successes. And that's kind of where I started us off today, thinking about what have we already been doing? How can we, you know, promote ourselves and recognize ourselves for the hard work that we've already put in this work, and share with others so they can learn too. More things about taking care of yourself, some things that we may not always think about, noticing your feelings, noticing your stress level. Don't expect perfection. I know so many of us are perfectionists. Give ourselves a little grace. Making ourselves a priority. Some people like to practice gratitude. And then on the real practical side of things, some things that you can lean into, like making sure you're getting the sleep and you're getting your hydration, you're engaging in some movement. I think some of us find that, you know, depending on our roles, we might be in one spot or one room or one desk, and making sure that we are finding some movement throughout our day. Journaling, if that's, you know, something that you enjoy doing, making sure that you stay connected to friends and family. I really like the one that says get outside. I think nature is such a powerful piece of wellness. I personally like to get outside at least for a minute a day in the course of the workday. And I think it just really rejuvenates me. It's, you know, we don't always get sunshine in Chicago, but when we do, it's lovely. But always a breath of fresh air, I think always really helps. And even if you're sitting, in an office or at your desk or in a classroom, noticing, and sometimes we don't even notice the senses that are going on around us until we intentionally engage in that. But noticing what you see, what you feel, what you smell, what you taste, and kind of engaging in our senses, it really helps to ground and reset ourselves. Also thinking about work-life balance. These are just questions that I'll pose to you. How do you find your personal balance? And is it something that you want to think more about? Is there anything in you and in your work-life balance that you want to strengthen? Does work creep into your evenings and your weekends? Does it blow through your lunch period? Does it encroach in your family time? Do you sometimes sacrifice your vacations? And so if these things are important to you, or if these are areas that you want to strengthen, think about when you feel tempted to break your own rules, and how to consider how to re-engaging in work-life balance so that it's healthy for you, and healthy for your wellness. And that's just something that I'll leave with you. And we won't kind of go into that a little bit more, but just some tips for self-care. We talked about a lot of these already, but I like the visual: going for a walk, sleeping, stretching, eating a balanced diet. I've recently just gotten into meditation for myself. I don't know if others engage in that. I think someone earlier mentioned something about meditation. If you're a runner, I'm a walker, not a runner, but I do enjoy the movement. These are some things that you can find online. I'm not going to go into them all. I'm not going to play them all, but journaling, mindfulness, some box breathing that I talked about earlier, about doing some of that breath work, some stretching activities. These are all just suggestions. One thing I did want to make sure to touch on is some of this really kind of leans towards regulating our nervous system. But I think we do need to consider doing maybe a little reframing and a little bit of relearning around wellness, because sometimes I feel like it becomes, it kind of taps into consumerism, like, oh, I'm going to get my, I'm going to get my enjoyment out of going on a shopping spree. Some people call it retail therapy, or buying the latest self-help book, or purchasing things for self-care. And I would just, create some awareness and some caution for you. And if that is a way that you're engaging in that avenues of self-care, and really thinking about, how much you're engaging in that consumerism around that idea. Some people find that they're in a circle of grinding and hustling, sort of as a culture, working all the time, doing it one day, getting up and doing it again the next day, and sort of, realizing what's happening in our lives if we're sort of in that cycle of that hustling and grinding pattern. Also recognizing our reactions if we're in a state of survival and safety in our fight, flight, and freeze responses. And we won't go into that today, but just sort of noticing if we're in those spaces. Safety, well-being, and connection. Connection is such an important piece, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, I think, in the next slide. And then in previous slide, I already mentioned the workplace and the organizational responsibility around wellness. And that includes compensation, benefits, EAP, access to those types of benefits that really do create a more comprehensive array of supports for wellness. I recently came across, and this is the piece about connection that I wanted to weave in. I recently came across this. Others of you may be already familiar with it, but the U.S. Surgeon General has this work on our epidemic of loneliness and isolation, which I think is only, exacerbated by COVID and the pandemic and the isolation that we all felt through that and continue to still feel. But noticing and recognizing that humans are wired for social connection, and we've become more isolated over time. And knowing that social connection significantly improves the health and well-being of all of us. And so opportunities like this to kind of get together, to engage, to talk about the work that we're doing, the connections that we have in our own programs and with one another, I think fostering and promoting that is really contributing to the health of all of us and the well-being of our society. And that, you know, I think together recognizing that and holding the importance of connection as an important piece of society and public health and our work going forward, I think is something to hold on to. And I just put a citation here if you wanted to look into this a little bit further. I think it's really important work, and I'm glad that it's out there for us to consume. I am glancing at the time, and I know we just have 15 minutes left, B, so I don't want to make you nervous that I'm going to run you over. But I also wanted to share with you, in case you haven't seen it already, eClick also has, and I put the link here, but they also have some really good information about creating a staff wellness plan. And if it's something that you haven't done already, I would invite you to check out this website. There's a lot of information available about how to create an action plan, how to do and think about some of the things that you're already doing or that you want to do, and kind of put some actions into play. It's things about taking a perspective on where you're at with wellness and supporting staff wellness. Some of it talks about, doing focus groups, doing listening tours, gathering the information about where the team is at and where the team wants to go with this. And it has some good worksheets and tracking information that you can use as tools to help create some momentum and accountability around the work. So I just wanted to propose that to you if this is something that you wanted to look into further at your own site. And then just some things to consider, how can we support our staff? What does support look like? I think that's a really good question, because what does that look like in action? What does it look like if you asked someone on your team, what does support look like for you? The responses might be different across the team members. And so how do we know that we're supporting our team in the way that they feel that they would like to be supported, and how it looks to be supported to them? So I think that's where these conversations come into play. Someone mentioned earlier noticing signs that staff are feeling overwhelmed and need assistance, and recognizing what those signs are so that we can tap in and offer that support. And if we don't know what the signs are, it's hard to be a mind reader sometimes, and it's hard to have a crystal ball. So if we talk about what some of those signs are, then maybe we can see them when they're showing them to us. And it'll be our signal to help and step in. And I know so many of you have strategies. I've talked to, many people who have little indicators and, teaching team techniques about how to support one another. So I know it's already happening. It's just creating that awareness. Some things that we can do when staff need a break. And then what does ongoing staff wellness look like? So this is for the long haul. This is for the future. This is something that we want to be able to engage in, moving forward. So not just today, but tomorrow and the years to follow. So what does that ongoing support and work look like? And then I wanted to be sure to leave us with some access to some resources. It's important to talk about the need and the importance of wellness, but making sure that we have some tangible resources when we need them, and so that they're accessible to us. So this has been very well promoted, so I'm sure no one's hearing about it for the first time, but there is the 988 Suicide and Crisis Line Lifeline. It's available call or text. It's 24 hours. It's available in English and Spanish. And it's something that we can promote across our teams, to our families, to our communities. And there's more information on the SAMHSA website about fact sheets around it, more information about it. But I mostly just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware about the 988 Lifeline, and to make sure that you're passing it forward and making sure that others know about it too. So that was one resource that I wanted to share. This is just a little blurb that I grabbed off of the CDPH mental health centers. So for those that live in the city of Chicago, there are free services available for mental health. I believe there's 5 different centers, if I have that right, but.
That's right. Yeah,
I'm sorry?
there are 5 directly operated CDPH clinics. And then we have a whole host of
others, right?
Community-based like FQHCs that we fund to expand mental health services as well. I can try to share more information.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. Yeah, so there's like that core, the 5 that they'll see like on a brochure if they go through the website and whatnot. I think the point that I wanted to make is that it's out there, it's accessible, it's available, to make sure that people know how to access them and tap into them. Also, if you don't know where to go, and Madeline, jump in if you have more information on this, but the Greater Lawn Clinic, I think, serves as sort of that entry point. And so they will direct you to a location that is close to you, that offers the services that you're needing, almost like I don't want to call it an intake line, but a line that can help navigate you to where you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's one of our largest, busiest sites, and there are other services there as well. There's a WIC clinic and I believe some other like specialized medical services that are offered there.
Great. So pretty comprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you so much for adding that.
Yeah, I'm trying to dig up. I know we have nice, concise flyers for mental health services. I'll try to find those and share them.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. Perfect. And while Madeline's doing that, someone mentioned, I'll just move on. Someone mentioned that their agency offers an employee assistance program. So that's another, if your agency has it or offers it. What I find sometimes is that even though we kind of yell it from the rooftops, we have this, if you have it, employees always don't recognize that it's there until they need it, which is fine, but don't always even know that they can tap into it. So if you have an EAP at your site or within your agency, I think a constant promotion of its availability and accessibility is important, just so staff know that it's out there, and so they can consider it another avenue of support and a resource to tap into some needs that they might have when it comes up. And then I'm kind of closing out here, which is good because we're almost out of time, but I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Head Start Heals campaign, but there's some nice, really short animated videos. And I grabbed this one and I thought we can watch it together. I think it's only like 2 minutes. But it really helps to sort of, it's not necessarily about wellness, but it kind of comes full circle. It's about why we do this work and the importance of our role in society and with children and families. So I would love to just show it and watch it together for a couple of minutes here. And B, can you give me a thumbs up if the audio is good? Here we go.
My name is Kashawn, and I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. And I started Head Start as a 4-year-old in 1977. My memories of Head Start always creep back. I remember coloring and singing and dancing. And I remember that my Head Start teacher had the same last name as me. And I grew up and had children when we got to Head Start. My daughter was 4 and I had left an abusive relationship. I had to kind of pull myself together, having left with just a suitcase. I knew that violence wasn't healthy, and I knew that my children were better off seeing me happy and whole, because that would give them permission to be happy and whole. When we got to Head Start, I was brought in, okay, your kids are going to come to school, but what do you need? Do you need job training? Do you need medical care? Do you need mental health care? All of which I did. And it was really there that I began understanding this holistic approach to taking care of children, where you can't care for a child outside the context of a healthy family relationship and a healthy school family relationship. I'm a Head Start teacher now. It's where I started my own education and learning to be happy and whole and free and love books and love singing and being silly and imaginative and think. I went back and I don't have any plans on leaving because, you know, Head Start is home, I guess. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. Head Start is home.
I've watched that video a dozen times probably, and whenever she gets to the part where she says, I'm a Head Start teacher now, it just hits me every single time. And I just think it's really beautiful. That is the end for me. I know we just have 5 minutes left. I typically would ask for any reactions to the video, but we won't do that now. Feel free to react with your teammates if you want to talk about that more. Also, you know, the Head Start Heals campaign has more animated videos if you're interested in looking at more. But I will stop sharing, and thank you so much for your time. And I will turn it back to B.
Melissa, that was awesome. Awesome. You know, we have a little reaction button at the bottom of your screen. Show Melissa some love. You can do a heart. You can do a thumbs up. There you go, Melissa. We enjoyed you so much.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity.
And you'll have many more, because we really need to do something around challenging behaviors that we're seeing. So we'll welcome you back for that.
Thank you.
We had a question in the chat, and it always comes up. And they want to know if they can have the PowerPoint.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to share it.
Sure. You can share it either in the chat or share it with me, and I'll get it out.
Okay.
And they want to know your contact information.
Oh, sure. How about I just throw it in the chat? Is that easier?
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Melissa.
Yeah.
You rounded us out and ended us on a really awesome note. And the hearts are coming in. All right, Dr. Richardson, it's on us to close this out. And if you want to go ahead and begin with the work that we need to accomplish in August.
All right, this will just be a quick roundup for all the agencies. You remember that in August, we're going to be tapping in to figure out what's going on with the recommendation for mitigation of COVID. So we would love for you to all be hands-on in making sure that your data, your observations, your questions, and your participation. Remember that training, make sure that your staff is being trained on a continuous basis, because a one-time training is never good enough. And we know that our challenges can be spontaneous and unique. So those are the things that we need to be working on toward August.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson. All right, last but not least, we're going to be sending you a HSAC schedule for the upcoming program year. So give us a few minutes to do that. Look for it in your CSD updates. If any of you are not receiving CSD updates, just put your name in the chat, and Mahara and Martise and the team will make sure that you get those CSD updates. We're also going to try to do some face-to-face. Now that we're all back, I just need to secure some dates and some locations. If any of you have locations that are large enough, have ample parking, please reach out and let me know. And we'll look to bring at least 1 or 2 meetings to do face-to-face in the coming program year. And so lastly, thank you for your time today. It's good to see all of you, good to hear from you. And thank you to all of our vendors and our DFSS staff. Have a safe year. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you so much.